What is a prophet? What does a prophet do? I think commonly folks would say that a prophet is someone who predicts the future, right? That's a prophecy. And to a certain degree, there is some truth in that. But as we look at the prophets of the Old Testament, quite often a prophet is someone who speaks the truth into the present. I really like, though, the way that our Sunday school curriculum talks about prophets. It's the godly play curriculum. And what our teachers are teaching every time they do a lesson on the prophets is a prophet is someone who is so close to God, and God is so close to them that they know what God is thinking. And that's Hosea. Someone who is so close to God, and God is so close to him, he knows what God is thinking. Now, some things you should probably know about Hosea. You can hear in this few verses that Hosea is conflicted. God is conflicted. There is tremendous love for Israel, but also tremendous pain and hurt, disappointment. Hosea, as he began his ministry, got married. And his marriage, God told him, was to be a marriage that would send a message to all of Israel. So Hosea married a prostitute. He married a woman who he knew would not be faithful to him, as a way of showing Israel, this is the relationship that you have with God. You are unfaithful to God. Hosea had 3 children. The first of Hosea's children he named Jezreel. Jezreel is a valley in Israel that's famous for its bloody battles. Hosea's first child was named as a way to show Israel and the people around him, the people who knew him, guess what's coming our way? If we don't turn in faithfulness to God, there are bloody battles coming our way. Hosea's second child, he named the Hebrew word that is translated as unfaithful. Congratulations, Hosea. I heard you had a baby. What's its name? Unfaithful. Again, a sign to the people around him, to his community, saying, this is the relationship we have with our parent God. We are the unfaithful child. Hosea had a third child. He was not sure that he was the father of the third child. The name of the third child? The Hebrew word that is translated as, not my child. The next time you cringe when someone tells you the name of their child, remember Hosea. Again, a sign to the people around him, to his community, saying, we are not acting like God's child. Now, in the midst of all this, you should also know that there are political maneuverings happening. Hosea is speaking into his community while they see their kings acting, trying to figure out how to prolong their kingdom, to retain their sovereignty. So Assyria was growing in power. Egypt was a very significant power at that time. And the kings of Assyria were paying tribute to these leaders, to these governments, to these kings. And they were collecting taxes, they were taking anything, all stuff of value that they could to pay tribute to these other kings, to keep them out of our borders so that we can remain a sovereign nation. And while they're doing that, of course, they're picking up culture and religion from these other communities, showing them, yes, we're like you, we're just like Assyria. See, our religion is the same as you. And all the while, Hosea is saying, no. When we're faithful, God is with us and will protect us. Our faithfulness is what we need in the midst of this, rather than worshiping to the Baals, setting up the Asherah poles. So all of this is happening in the midst of this. Yet, what are the words that we hear from Hosea as he speaks into this community, into this reality? I was the parent who taught you to walk. I held you by your hand. I was like those who lift infants to their cheeks. How many of you have held a baby up to your cheek? You know the smell of a newborn baby. How holy and precious that is. And that is the relationship that Hosea lifts up as God to Israel. You are my precious child who I love. And no matter how bad things can get in Israel, no matter how far they can stray, the love is always there. The love is the foundation of that relationship between God and Israel. And Hosea desperately wants his community to see that and to hold on to that. As we have been journeying through these weeks of sacred rhythms, we have been learning ways to connect with this loving God through silence and solitude, through recognizing our flesh and blood spirituality. We are created in God's image. That divine spark is within us, and even we go out from here as the hands and feet of Christ. This week for Sacred Rhythms, it's all about developing our own sacred rhythms, or integrating these sacred rhythms into how we live. To recognize that God is not just a Sunday morning for 1 hour God, but rather is a God that gets integrated into our very lives, into the decisions we make, the relationships that we foster, the way that we serve in the community, how we are generous with those around us. And that's what we're working toward today and this week as we go into our small groups for one more time, because this is the last one. 6 weeks, so we've developed all these tools to put in our spiritual toolbox. And I know this has not been for some of you. Some of the feedback I've gotten is, when are we going to do more like Bible study? I'm hoping this morning's sermon scratched that itch a little. But a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that this has pushed our comfort zones a bit. It has definitely broadened our perspectives as to how we can connect with God through our prayer lives, through the way that we order our days, through the way we read Scripture. And that's what these tools are all about. Because I know that life is challenging. This week, a lot of crazy things have happened for many of you. And I know many of you are looking ahead to surgeries for loved ones, or praying for loved ones who are serving in the military and have been deployed. These are some of the things that have come our way through our office this week. But as we experience these things, through our sacred rhythms, through recognizing the love of God, we experience these things from that foundation of faith. That foundation of love that was there in Hosea, that we see in Jesus Christ, who was God on earth, who said, I love you so much, I'm coming to you to literally wrap my arms around you and show you the way through the challenges of life, through death even, to life eternal, love eternal. No matter how far you may have wandered, no matter how far away you may think that God is, you are God's child. You are the one who God held by the hand and taught how to walk. You are that infant that God lifts up as someone lifts an infant to their cheeks. In Hosea, we rest in that love, that never failing, always holding us love. This time I invite you to stand and we'll pray.